Ferrari is in chaos and Lewis Hamilton could lose his Abu Dhabi result. The FIA just revealed new evidence that a key suspension part may have broken the rules. If confirmed, Hamilton will be disqualified and Ferrari could lose critical constructor points. And here's the twist. Engineers warned about the car's instability before the race even started. Subscribe now because this scandal could rewrite Hamilton's first season at Ferrari. The 2025 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix was expected to be a calm end to a turbulent season for Ferrari. McLaren had dominated both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships, while Red Bull pursued the title with relentless consistency. Ferrari, meanwhile, was left to salvage pride. Charles Leclerc managed a solid fourth-place finish, showing poise in a difficult car. Lewis Hamilton, however, finished 8th after a disastrous qualifying session where he started 16th. At the time, the result seemed like a minor footnote, but that perception would change dramatically within hours. Post-race analysis revealed anomalies in Hamilton's SF25 that immediately drew the FIA's attention. Telemetry indicated inconsistent rear suspension behavior under lateral loads, particularly in Sector 3 around the high-speed hotel complex. Engineers noted repeated fluctuations in wheel load and yaw responses that did not match the declared suspension compliance. Onboard footage corroborated these readings, showing Hamilton making frequent corrective inputs to stabilize the rear, contrasting with Leclerc's more consistent handling on the same car model. The anomaly's significance became clearer when FIA technicians performed detailed load simulations. The right rear suspension component flexed beyond its homologated limits under forces experienced during the race. While subtle to the naked eye, this deviation exceeded the legal tolerance in Article 11 of the technical regulations. Even without contact or failure, the car's dynamic behavior did not comply with declared specifications. In F1, such deviations are serious, as legality is measured in microns, not lap time advantage. Adding to the drama, the anomaly appeared consistently across multiple laps. Laps 31, 34, and 36 all showed the same right rear deflection pattern. This consistency suggested the deviation was not a one-off accident, but an inherent characteristic of the component or its assembly. Ferrari's engineers had flagged concerns about rear stability during practice sessions, but nothing was formally documented or addressed. The FIA now had evidence that the car operated outside the approved compliance envelope during multiple key moments of the race. The difference between Hamilton and Leclerc became critical. While Leclerc ran nearly identical suspension geometry, his car remained fully compliant under the same loads. This eliminated the possibility of a systemic design issue and isolated the anomaly to Hamilton's chassis. Engineers suggested that Hamilton's driving style, characterized by aggressive trail braking and rear rotation preference, may have stressed the component more, revealing the latent compliance deviation. Regardless, responsibility rests with the team to ensure all components comply under all conditions. The FIA also integrated high-speed corner camera footage to verify telemetry. Frame-by-frame analysis of the SF25 exiting turn 17 showed subtle but consistent compression on the right rear corner. When aligned with telemetry data, it confirmed that the mechanical behavior matched the observed suspension deflection. The combination of mechanical tests, sensor data, and visual evidence made the case irrefutable. Hamilton's car had a suspension component operating outside its declared limits, fulfilling the criteria for a technical breach. This revelation has massive implications for Ferrari. Not only could Hamilton be disqualified from Abu Dhabi, but the team may also face scrutiny regarding assembly practices, part selection, and compliance verification. Sponsors, engineers, and drivers are now watching closely, knowing that even minor deviations have zero tolerance. The stakes extend beyond a single race. This finding could influence Ferrari's preparation, regulatory approach, and internal dynamics heading into the 2026 season, making Abu Dhabi 2025 a pivotal moment in the team's history. The FIA's investigation into Hamilton's SF25 began immediately after the race, focusing on telemetry and onboard sensor data. Engineers detected abnormal readings in the right rear suspension under lateral load, particularly in Sector 3's high-speed hotel corners. These anomalies showed repeated variations in wheel load and yaw response, indicating that the component did not maintain consistent compliance. Such deviations, though subtle, were enough to trigger scrutiny, as Formula One rules demand absolute mechanical conformity at all times. To verify the issue, FIA technicians performed detailed post-race mechanical tests on the suspension component. Using hydraulic actuators and calibrated force rigs, they applied stresses simulating those experienced on track. The results confirmed the data. The right rear suspension flexed by over 3 millimeters beyond the declared specification under peak load. While this may seem small, in F1 terms it is significant, enough to constitute a breach of Article 11 of the technical regulations, which forbids any dynamic deformation outside homologated limits. Comparisons with Leclerc's car highlighted the uniqueness of the problem. Although both SF25s were built to nearly identical specifications, telemetry from Leclerc's vehicle showed that all suspension components remained within tolerance. This eliminated systemic design flaws as a cause and suggested that the anomaly was isolated to Hamilton's chassis. Factors such as assembly variation, material inconsistency, or setup differences could have contributed, but the FIA's data clearly indicated non-compliance on a single car. Video evidence further corroborated the telemetry and mechanical tests. High-speed footage captured Hamilton's SF25 exiting turn 17, showing subtle but consistent compression on the right rear corner. Frame-by-frame analysis aligned perfectly with the sensor readings, confirming that the part was flexing under load in ways it shouldn't. This triangulation of telemetry, physical testing, and video evidence provided the FIA with an irrefutable case that the suspension element operated outside its declared limits. The FIA also reviewed multiple laps to ensure the consistency of the anomaly. Laps 31, 34, and 36 all demonstrated identical behavior, reinforcing that the deviation was repeatable and not due to external impacts or temporary failure. The consistency strengthened the case against Ferrari, showing that the component's illegal flex was not accidental but intrinsic to its behavior during the race, fulfilling the criteria for a technical violation. Importantly, the FIA emphasized that the penalty is independent of performance advantage. Hamilton's 8th place finish may have been outside contention for the podium, but legality is measured by conformity to technical rules, not results on track. Even minor deviations, if repeated and consistent, are sufficient to merit a sanction. In this case, the SF25's right rear suspension exceeded tolerances in measurable ways that leave no room for doubt. Finally, Ferrari's only plausible defense would be to prove that the part remained within legal limits or that an external factor caused the flex. Given the consistency across telemetry, mechanical tests, and video evidence, this is unlikely. As a result, Hamilton's result in Abu Dhabi is at serious risk, and the FIA's sanction is expected imminently. The case underscores the zero-tolerance approach of modern Formula One, where even millimeter-scale deviations are treated as race-defining breaches. In Formula One, rear suspension components are not just structural elements, they form an integral part of the car's aerodynamic and mechanical balance. Every millimeter of movement influences the ride height, downforce distribution, and tire contact patch. A suspension component that flexes beyond its declared limits can unintentionally change the car's handling mid-corner, providing subtle gains in rotation or stability. That's why the FIA monitors dynamic compliance so rigorously. Even minor deviations can significantly alter behavior on track, regardless of whether the driver gains a direct advantage. Hamilton's SF25 displayed repeated right rear suspension flex beyond its homologated tolerance. The deviation may seem minimal measured in millimeters, but in Formula One, these measurements are critical. Article 11 of the technical regulations explicitly prohibits any dynamic deformation outside approved specifications. The rules leave no room for interpretation. A part operating beyond its declared behavior is illegal, regardless of whether the driver notices or benefits from it. This strict standard ensures fairness and maintains the integrity of competition. Hamilton's driving style interacts with the car's mechanical behavior in a way that amplifies small deviations. Known for his trail-braking technique and reliance on rear-end rotation for mid-corner control, Hamilton requires a responsive and predictable rear suspension. The flex in the SF25 meant that the rear end reacted inconsistently under lateral loads, forcing Hamilton to make constant corrective inputs. This created both a performance and compliance issue. The car's behavior no longer matched the homologated specifications, even if the driver maintained control. Even minor suspension deviations have a cascading effect on cornering performance. A few millimeters of extra flex alters the load distribution on the tires, modifies the car's pitch angle, and changes the floor's aerodynamic interaction with the track. The repeated deviations recorded in Hamilton's car could improve rotation or rear stability, slightly, not in a way intended or exploited, but enough to violate regulations. In modern F1, zero-tolerance enforcement means that even unintentional deviations are treated as technical infractions. Ferrari's internal setup and component assembly are now under scrutiny. While the SF-25 passed pre-race inspections and durability tests, the anomaly suggests that either assembly variance, part batch inconsistency, or material fatigue contributed to the flex. Teams are responsible for ensuring every component complies under all conditions. Hamilton's driving style exposed a weak point that may have gone undetected during standard checks, illustrating the razor-thin margins teams operate under in modern racing. This case highlights the zero-tolerance nature of Formula One's technical enforcement. The FIA's approach ensures that innovation and performance cannot override legality. Even a minor, consistent deviation like the right rear flex on Hamilton's car triggers investigation and potential penalties. In 2025, the focus on structural integrity, compliance, and reproducibility means that no team can ignore small anomalies. Every part, every setup change, and every chassis assembly must meet exact specifications.